How to make your turbocharged car faster for free. So there's a little something in the car world we like to call brake boosting. And I'll be honest, I didn't know exactly what it was for a while, but the first time I experienced it, I was blown away. This is how you do it. So all you would do is you would have your foot on the accelerator as you're building up that boost, but also have your left foot on the brake, maintaining your vehicle speed. So your car's not going any faster, but the boost is building up. So once you're at your desired boost, you let go of the brake and you have an instant acceleration, much faster than just smashing on the gas. So the entire point of brake boosting is to maintain a vehicle's speed while you're building up boost in a roll race situation. On the track, of course, not on the street. So I guess your car's not really getting faster, but it's definitely accelerating a lot faster than you would expect. At least for me, the first time I experienced it, I was blown away. In simple terms, torque is just a measurement of force. How do we increase it? You're either going to have to increase the force, or you're going to be smart and increase the distance. So you have to use less force, more distance, more leverage, more torque. Say this is your crankshaft spinning, and you're going to have to put more force on that piston pushing down to get more torque. Or you can get a stroker kit, increase the stroke that the piston's going up and down. Imagine this is your crankshaft now, and the piston now has a farther travel going up and down, more torque. Now horsepower is just a measurement of work, and work is a measurement of force over time. Like on a dyno, for example, it's measuring the force at the wheels. So we take that torque or force number and we put that over a specified time, and that is what gives us our horsepower. I wish I could go more into detail, but of course the video is only a minute. Hope you learned something. Now we know the turbo is getting spooled up by the exhaust gas, but superchargers, they do a little different. Today we're going to be going over the root style and how it works. First off, what you need to know is the supercharger is mechanically driven off the crankshaft. But what's actually going on in there? Imagine there's two shafts side by side. Air is being fed into the supercharger right on top through the intake. As it goes down, it meets those shafts with lobes on it. Those lobes are spinning just like this, forcing that low pressure air into high pressure air. As the air makes its way down, it has to pass through what's called an intercooler, just like a turbo has an intercooler. But this one is water cooled instead of an air to air intercooler like we're used to seeing on turbo cars. The air charge goes down through the lobes, passes the intercooler, gets cooled down, then straight to the engine. And what's cool is the higher the engine revs up, because it's driven right off the crank, the more air we're getting from the supercharger. That's the one advantage that superchargers do have, is relatively no lag. These are the top 3 muscle cars of today, but we need to figure out who is the true king. The comment section's gonna get interesting. The GT500 has a whopping 760 horsepower and 625 foot-pounds of torque. The Demon is at 850 horsepower on race gas, Dodge says. It's cheating, but whatever. And 770 foot-pounds of torque. And the Camaro is at the bottom, but it has a nice 650 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque. In my opinion, I think the GT500 is the king. I think it looks the best. I think it performs the best, not only in a straight line, but also around the track. Yes, the Demon does have more horsepower. From what I understand, it's only straight line speed, and I don't think I've seen a Demon on the track. The Demon I am putting last. Personally, I think the GT500 and the ZL1 looks a bit better, and the performance on track bumps them up. Just my opinion. I understand if you like the car just because it is the fastest, I respect it. But I do want to hear your guys' list. Put your answers in the comments. Is air suspension right for you? See what I did there? If you're looking to build an all-out track car, I'm telling you right now, air suspension is not right for you. On average, air suspension probably costs around $3,000 depending on your car. If you were to spend $3,000 on a super dialed set of coilover suspension, I'm telling you right now, the coilover suspension would outperform air suspension. What air suspension does that coilovers will never be able to do: options. You want to air it out and slam it at a car show? Got it. You want to set your ride height at an average height? Of course. Do you want to air all the way up and easily get into your driveway? Absolutely. Coilovers, it's not going to happen, obviously. So I like to look at it like coilovers are great at that one aspect, handling very, very well. But air suspension will always be good in way more categories than coilovers. So I feel like the question shouldn't be, is air suspension good? It should be. As we all know, there are 4 JDM legends, but there can only be one JDM king. And those legends are the NSX, FDRX7, R34 GTR, and the Mark IV Supra. You got the Mark IV Supra, which is an absolute powerhouse. I just think of a buff old dude. Big power, crazy straight line speed. Then the RX-7, it is probably one of the most beautiful cars you have ever seen in your life. Maybe that's just my opinion. Moving on to the NSX, I feel like a lot of people sleep on it. It's literally the JDM supercar. The lines on it seriously reflect maybe even something like a Ferrari. And then of course the R34 GTR with the famous RB26, and of course it is all-wheel drive. I feel like all four legends are good in one specific area heavily, but if you think about it, I feel like the R34 is the best in all categories. Looks, performance, popularity, I think that's why it's really the king. But what do you guys think? My secret modification is actually hidden right behind here. Right back there. This is an aftermarket DCCD system. As we know, WRXs do not come with the DCCD system like an STI, but I managed to use stock STI DCCD buttons and the stock STI cluster to work with my aftermarket DCCD system. Now this aftermarket center differential control unit that I have actually does a lot more. It taps into the ECU, it takes a throttle position sensor, you actually install a G sensor in the center of the car, which is actually underneath this cup holder here, and you can set it in auto or manual depending on what you want to do. From a full open diff to fully locking the center diff, making all four wheels spin essentially at the same speed. So yes, in the comments, it is just a WRX. But I do have a couple tricks on my sleeve. You should not install a front mount intercooler on your Subaru. If you haven't realized, Subarus have a hood scoop for a reason. That is to duct air into the top mounted intercooler that comes from the factory. The top mounted intercooler is placed right there because that is very close to the turbo. The air that needs to travel through the intercooler then to the turbo is a very small distance, promoting good spool. When you change that up to a huge front mount intercooler, you increase the distance in which the air needs to travel. You will probably see slightly longer spool times. Slightly. Nothing major, but slightly. When pushing a ridiculous amount of boost, of course you do get to a point where you do need a larger core, larger surface area, better cooling, but I think a lot of people put a front mount intercooler on a car that does not necessarily need it, and that is the point of this video. At the end of the day, most of you guys do not need a front mount intercooler, although yes, it does look cool. Are you into cars? Of course you are. Why am I even asking? Here are 3 mods that actually improve your driving experience. Big turbo, huge wing, and NOS. Just kidding, let's get serious. Starting out strong with number 1 is a short throw shifter. I feel like this is one of the most underrated parts you can get for your car if your car is a manual. Going to number 2, we will go over to suspension. If you have the money, I highly recommend getting a set of coilovers. A pretty good, relatively cheap company is BC Racing. But if you don't quite have the money for that, about half the price, you can get a good set of lowering springs and aftermarket struts. I feel like just a good set of lowering springs are slept on, still make a difference, lower the center of gravity, you'll feel a difference. Lastly is a set of sway bars. Throwing on a sway front and rear, you will really notice a difference, especially paired with a nice set of suspension. If you guys like this series and you found this video helpful, make sure you let me know so I can continue to make more of them. And if you want more content, you guys know where to go. Does an aftermarket intake actually increase horsepower, or does it just make cool noises? Let's find out. Stock airboxes are very large, they muffle a lot of noise, and those large paper filters can be very restrictive. The job of the aftermarket intake obviously would be to have less restriction, better flow, and to try to get air from a cooler place. But does it actually give you power? Put it this way, if your car is completely stock, you put on an intake, you will notice nothing. The butt dyno may tell you differently because it will make some cool noises, don't get me wrong. But let's be real, you know your car is not faster. Of course, you will never see a heavily modified car with a stock airbox. They will use every advantage that they can, like having a less restrictive intake. So if your car is of course heavily modified, and a proper cold air intake system is a good idea because it will allow you to maximize the potential of your engine. But you guys can argue about that in the comments. What do you guys think? So as you guys know, I make content teaching you guys about cars. But who taught me? Oh my god. I went to school to be a mechanic. Let me tell you about it. So as you guys can see, the school that I went to was a 3-year program, so you get a certificate every single year you pass it. engine performance, engine repair, aka you build the engine, and then chassis and powertrain. So it covers all the areas of the car. So the typical day, if you're going to school for automotive, it's about a 5-hour day, Monday through Friday. The first hour and a half to 2 hours, you go into class, you learn about theory. There's a small lunch in between. The other about 2.5, 3 hours, you go in the shop and you apply what you learned in the classroom. It's honestly pretty basic. So like I said, each year that you pass, you get what's called a Certificate of Achievement Advanced, and these certificates are recognized by shops and you can get hired that way. And that's pretty much it. That's how I learned. What an amazing sound. You ever wonder what makes it? I'm gonna tell you right now, but not only that, I'm gonna show you. I don't actually have a GTR, right? Our turbo is getting spooled up from the exhaust side over here. That air is then being directed through this pipe and intercooler back up, then put into the engine for that pressurized air. When we suddenly let off the gas and that throttle plate closes, that pressurized air is still trying to come in. So instead of having a stock recirculating valve, you can have what's called a blow-off valve. So when I let off the gas, the blow-off valve will release all that extra pressure. The blow-off valve can be set at certain pressures to open to release that pressure. You could either not have a blow-off valve or tighten up the spring on the blow-off valve. So with the air being redirected, not all getting released, that stu-tu-tu sound is the air being pushed back on this wheel here, and you're actually hearing the noise out of the intake. Oh my god, don't know where that came from. But hey, if you learned something new, consider subscribing. Catch you on the next. Hey, new to the car scene? First off, welcome. Now I totally get it. It can be fun and exciting and you're ready to modify your car, but it seems you guys are struggling with one thing. Where to buy car parts. Don't worry, your boy got you. We cannot forget these. Now there's definitely a bunch of online shops that you can use, but honestly one of my personal favorites is throttle.com. They got some of the best prices, super easy interface to use, and also some killer deals. And there's a little twist. At the end of this month, Throttle is actually giving away a 2018 STI. I don't even have an STI. I wonder if I could enter. Anyway, this thing is freaking sick. I mean, check this thing out. It's freaking easy. Every $1 you spend on Throttle, be it car parts or their merchandise, it's one entry to win the 2018 STI. I have a direct link in my bio, and if you use that link, you can save up to 15% off anything you want. Happy shopping.
Oh, hey Alex, I haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, what's up, dude? How you been?
Good, bro. I heard you've been really into cars these days.
Yeah, dude, I've been really enjoying it.
Oh, that's sick, man. I'm glad to hear. What's the last thing you've done to it?
I installed something called air suspension.
Whoa, sounds fancy. What does it do?
So get this. It makes the car go up and down, so it looks better when I park it.
Oh, nice. Is it expensive?
Yeah, it was $3,500.
Oh, wow, it is expensive. Does it handle well, at least?
Oh, definitely not. You can spend way less on coilovers, and it'll handle way better.
Oh, so you just spent $3,500 to make your car look better when it's parked?
Yes, dude. Now you're getting it.
Oh, okay, cool, man. Well, I gotta go. It was nice seeing you.
What the fuck? He spent that much? Oh, what's up, dude? How you been? Holy shit.
Hey.